Hello everyone, this is Mr. Brass, and today I'm going to be talking to you about atheism and politics. As a person that is more pro-religion, I often hear from the anti-religionist that they want religion out of the public sphere and that atheists are being oppressed by the big bad religious people. They often fearmonger with labels like the religious right. The religious right is basically like the atheist version of the patriarchy. The term the right wing in of itself is really meaningless these days. All politicians have essentially the same goals, just different ways of getting it. At this point, being called on the right is sort of like being called a Nazi. Plenty of people who identify as leftists get called right-wing for merely interpreting policies differently than fellow leftists. I hate to burst people's bubbles, but you've really never had a choice when it comes down to not having a religion being promoted by the government. The only clear distinction between the so-called right-wing and left-wing is that one is louder about the bigotry they spew. Before Trump, you'd have many so-called left-wing presidents essentially funding Islamic religious expansion by giving money to terrorist organizations who look to expand their religion. Obama, Hillary, and many others all played lip service to religion and ignored some legit problems that got brought up with it. Obama, in response to Muslim terrorism, did a whataboutism by bringing up the Crusades in order to show Christians have done terrorism too. So-called left-wingers are just as pro-religious bigots as right-wingers, and the only difference is they just happen to be more secretive about it and they pay off the press. I would like to say, in regards to the whole we should get religion out of the public sphere, that is BS. All ideas, whether religious or non-religious, deserve a spot in the public arena. I always find this funny because if I said the opposite, such as, I'm tired of all the atheist characters and content that saturates the media, you know, like Rick and Morty, Family Guy, The Simpsons, Marilyn Manson, the endless amount of atheist YouTube channels, Orange is the New Black, House, Dexter, Iron Man, atheist politicians like Jesse Ventura, etc. And I said I wanted atheism out of the public sphere because of that, I'd automatically be labeled as a theocrat and as a bigot against atheists, but somehow that doesn't get turned over to the atheists when they do pretty much the same exact thing. Now, for the record, I'm not against atheists having TV shows, being portrayed in movies, having atheist characters, etc. I believe if a platform or business wants to sell atheism and there's a market for it, then they have the right to do it. My problem isn't that this content/people exist, but it's more that atheists still feel like they are being oppressed, despite literally being given almost every platform you can imagine. Next up, atheists will likely bring up the fact that there are old laws on the books saying atheists or non-Christians can't run for office in certain states. I ask them, are these laws being enforced in any way, shape, or form? They say no, and likely they couldn't be even if the state tried to enforce them. I then proceed to ask them, why does it matter then? I hate to really spell it out how laws work, but laws are ultimately only worth as much as they are being enforced by someone. If they aren't enforceable in any way or aren't being enforced, it's just words on a piece of paper. Writing I get free beer every Wednesday is just as valued as that law. If there were a law from 100 years ago in the US that said no fat white guy can run for governor and it was never enforced, I, as a fat white dude, wouldn't be actively scared of being persecuted for it. They might bring up the fact that their family doesn't agree with nor support their atheism. Let me tell you this, no one is obligated to agree with and or support your decisions. If your family does agree with it and does support it, that is a decision they make to do so. Me and my family don't agree on a lot of things, religious or political, and they don't support everything I do, nor do I do them. Your family, at the bare bones minimum, is required only to care about you and up to a certain point take care of you. From my experience, atheists are the ones that are least likely to give you a citation for the shit that they say, and to even provide a knowingly bad argument for what they hold to be true. I mean, hell, I've talked to young earth creationists for hours and asked them for citations for what they believe, and typically they will do it on the first asking. I've talked to atheists for the same amount of time, and it would literally take me after the 10th time of me asking them for a citation for the claims that they spewed that they gave me a citation. Well, that is all for today. This is Mr. Brass saying goodbye and get wise.